Okay.
Okay.
I have not been in here in years. Loki grinned, looking like a child at a candy store as he turned in awe to Tony. I remember Thor and I would come here and visit the local children.
And fuck.
And fuck. I was taught magic from my mother, but I would occasionally get lessons from... Loki harshly cut himself off and turned from the mortal sorcerer, dragging him down the cobblestoned path with obvious anger. There was something about elven magic in Loki. Tony really wanted to know what the issue was. Do you think it would be good for me to learn elven magic? I do not believe it would be necessary, Stark. Loki spat harshly as they turned a corner, bumping straight into a woman. My apologies, I did not mean to...
It was Ebony Dark. It's Loki?
Tony looked between the bewildered god beside him and the beautiful black-haired elf woman standing across from
Ebony
Loki.
Darkness Dimension.
It was.
She had...
These preps!
She had dark raven black hair. That's how she got her name.
With a corset, with red lace, with a Marilyn Manson t-shirt.
So hard, I think I'm gonna throw up. Holy shit. Okay.
She was wearing a gorgeous yellow gown that made it look like she was floating. And then accented the deep, rich, brownish orange of her sharp eyes. His lips.
Sorry.
His lips. It's her lips. I'm drunk. Her lips were slightly parted.
I've lost my place.
Okay.
Tony looked between the bewildered god beside him and the beautiful black-haired elf woman standing across from Loki. She was wearing a gorgeous yellow gown that made it look like she was floating, and then it accented the deep...
No one cares what this lady is wearing.
The deep, rich, brownish orange of her sharp eyes. Her lips were slightly parted with a gasp, and a hand was at her mouth with shock. Her black hair was tied in an intricate braid, and flowers were tied into the braid, emitting a soft, gentle, flowery scent.
The flowers were emitting a flower.
They were. The flowers were emitting a flowery scent, if you could believe that.
This is hysterical.
Loki smiled softly, releasing Tony's hand from his grip. It has been a while. You said you would visit, the woman replied, her voice quivering a bit. You said you would come visit Loki, and that was years ago. Hundreds of years ago. I am truly sorry, but the duties of a prince called my name back in Asgard. I could not visit as much as I wished. Do not call me that. You make yourself sound distant. Loki chuckled slightly as the elf lady smiled.
Slightly.
Asta is what you have always called me, so Asta it is. Tony stood there awkwardly until Asta turned her eyes on him with a cock of her head. This is Anthony Stark of Midgard, Loki pointed out, nodding his head toward the man, who waved with a smile. I have decided to let him visit Alfheim for once. He ran into Alfred in the forest outside the palace gates. You in association with a mortal man? Asta wiggled her eyebrows suggestively, and both Tony and Loki pulled away from each other, blush staining their cheeks. No, not at all, Asta. Why would you say such a thing? I am his teacher. Yes, continue to tell yourself that, Loki. Why is it you are teaching a mortal? He is the Midgardian sorcerer, and Frigga was requested for me to teach him before Ragnarok. Asta's eyes widened as her eyes darted between Tony and Loki.
Her eyes widened and
darted. As they darted,
As they darted.
Tony, before settling on Loki, the legends are true. She gasped.
I feel like every time you read badfic to me, it's always self-insert badfic, so I can't enjoy it.
Shh, it's okay. Just allow yourself to be in the moment.
I am so into it.
She gasped before taking Loki's hand. Tony stiffened slightly in his pants as well as the rest of his body.
Ooh.
A sense of possessiveness, and I cannot read things.
Yeah.
A sense of possessiveness coming over him at the sight. Come with me so we may speak in private.
Ooh.
Loki nodded and proceeded to follow Asta, Tony on his heels. The two were whispering to each other, and Tony couldn't understand it.
They're just gonna go off and fuck and leave Tony. That's rude.
It irritated him
Rude.
because he felt like a third
Wheel, and damn! Damn! Did he not like being a third wheel? By the time the trio arrived at Asta's chambers, Tony wanted to take Loki to a wall and show Asta that Loki was his, not hers.
Please tell me they're gonna fuck, and it's gonna be really explicit.
God, I hope so. Loki told Asta everything about what had happened to him recently, minus the whole romantic get-up with Tony, of course. The elf was astonished with everything and asked Loki why he was even an Elfheim and if he had to prepare for Ragnarok.
I am having issues with my magic and gonna gap. I am visiting it in my sleep, but I have never before, not even when we visited Midgard all those years ago without permission, and Heimdall looked us there to teach us a lesson.
Ooh.
Oh, I remember that!
Asta laughed cheerfully.
Her voice ringing through the room.
So, you believe the Elfheim libraries have something to explain that?
Yes! Also, did you see the light in Anthony's chest?
Loki pressed his palm to Tony's chest, and the two locked eyes at the contact, breaths hitching simultaneously. Loki looked away too quickly and turned to Asta as he pointed to the arc reactor. Tony fidgeted slightly at the gaze Asta had trained on his chest.
My magic returns from gap and lands in this. This is Anthony's weapon, where he stores his magic.
Loki's hand settled on the arc reactor once more.
It is his weapon! And also a protective barrier for his magic.